I think it is. There's an academic story that I'm working on. I'm doing some action sequences right now with I can't tell you the name of it, but the great company Marvel has brought me on to help out with some entertainment as well.
I'm wondering if you can take us back to very young RZA growing up in New York. How did you first fall in love with Kung Fu film?
I mean, I think New York having that early, late 70s, early 80s cinema quality of being able to double feature movies, which you may see a movie like Blue Thunder playing with, yeah, exactly, playing with, Shogun Assassin, or so the unique grindhouse experience of films gave you more openness to films. My first ones that I ever saw was a double feature starring Bruce Lee playing Kato, which was a spliced together movie called Fury of the Dragon. And it was a double feature playing with a Jim Kelly movie called Black Samurai. Exactly. And those two films were the first two martial art films I saw. And I was excited about those. I had already seen, back then you didn't go to movies as much as we probably do now. I actually couldn't afford it. But I've already seen 5 movies by then. One was Huckleberry Finn. The other was Star Wars, of course. Then another one was called The Swarm, Michael Caine. And the funny thing is, the Force is always still with me. The Wu-Tang Killer Bees is on The Swarm. And martial arts has been a part of my music and my creative expression. But it wasn't until, I saw a movie called The Five Deadly Venoms, which you see one of the members, Lomain, who got stabbed and stuck to the wall. But he was one of the original Five Deadly Venoms, and it was that movie that really just drove my adrenaline.
Actually, he was the Toad.
He was the Toad, yeah. It was that movie that drove my adrenaline to become a fanatic. Years later.
Were you in high school at this point?
No, I was probably, 9 years old. So I know it was rated R, but back then, the funny thing is back in New York in those days, you couldn't get into the theater unless you were 17 and older. And I guess by high school, I would actually cut school and go to the movie theaters, me and my cousin, Old Dirty Bastard. And we couldn't get in. So you had to usually give another wino 50 cents. And he buys your tickets for you, and you give the tickets and then you go in. That's how we had to do it. But it wasn't until I saw 36 Chambers of Shaolin, another Shaw Brothers film, that I really became totally engulfed with the Asian culture and the philosophy, the martial art. It all kind of combined during that period. And I never let it go since then.
I mean, what was it about the Kung Fu philosophy that really drew you to it at that age?
Well, by the time I saw 36 Chambers, so beyond the imagination, as you can see, these movies are very imaginative and a lot of blood, gore, a lot of action and stunts. And for a kid, I think it has even a different impact when you look at the other cinema that we were exposed to. Films like this, you probably had over 20 minutes of action, whereas maybe during the Hollywood sequences, you'll get 3 to 4 minutes of action, But by the time I was able to pick up some of the philosophy of what the films was giving off, such as 36 Chambers and another one that was called Death Chamber, which the real title was Shaolin Temple, 5 Shaolin Masters, and Heroes 2, which is a sequel of films that's all based on the Shaolin Temple, followed by The Fist of the White Lotus, which was actually, and I think Slice of Death or Shaolin Habit. Those films are really, really embedded in Buddhism, Qigong, as well as some of the historical literature of Asian culture. And it fascinated me. I think one thing, as I recall myself being a black youth growing up in America, not having a real outlet of historical events. Like, I was a big fan of Hercules and the Greeks and the Romans, and when it came to to the black experience, every film was probably based in slavery or based in the 70s of exploitation. So when I got a chance to see 36 Chambers, which the story is based on a kid, going to college, a middle-class family, and then the government comes in and, destroys the family, destroys the town, and forces this kid to seek revenge. And he sought his revenge by hearing one word, Shaolin Kung Fu. And then he travels to Shaolin. So I think when in those days with less channels, we had like Channel 5, Channel 2, Channel 4, Channel 7, Channel 11, Channel 9. That's it. Now we got over 1,000 channels, Netflix, Amazon, and all that. So it was less access to so much material. So I think then martial art films became a place for me to escape the reality that was surrounding me.
So, do you guys have any questions? We'll take some questions from the audience.
Don't be shy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, someone's standing up.
Yeah, I got one. When you were working on Kill Bill with Tarantino, did you get to talk to Gordon Liu about working with Lau Bailang and making those movies like Shaolin and Wu-Tang?
When I worked on Kill Bill, I didn't get a chance to talk to Gordon. I didn't actually meet Gordon until the premiere of the movie. But I was fortunate to, in Kill Bill, I went to Beijing with Quentin. And I spent about 30 days there with him on set, learning how to direct films and learning angles from the great DP, Robert Richardson, and the whole crew, Sally Minky, the editor, rest in peace. Just being around that crew opened my mind up to what I could potentially do. But it wasn't until 2011 when I went back to China, Shanghai, and I filmed my first feature film called The Man with the Iron Fist. And I was able to have Gordon in my film. And Gordon at first didn't want to do the film, based mostly on him having a manager and an agent and it being kind of an economical thing. Kill Bill was such a great success and great economics that, it was kind of a high-paying gig, let's just say, for the Asian actors at that time. And so I came in with probably 50% of that fee because of my budget was probably, maybe 40% of what Quentin's budget was. But I got a chance to meet Gordon, and I really did take the time to explain to him that there's a character in my film that's not in the script, that's only in my BlackBerry. So my producers didn't know that this was like a plan that I had. And the plan of it was, I explained to him, when I first saw 36 Chambers, it was a scene where he walks to the 35th chamber to learn Kung Fu. They asked him, it's 36 chambers, 35 chambers, what do you want to learn? He said, I want to start at the top. And they put him to the 35th chamber. And in the 35th chamber, they was all just doing Buddhism. And it was quoting the 5 tones, deafens the ear, the 5 colors, blind your eye, emptiness is void. Without wisdom, there is no gain. And so hearing that philosophy sent me to get books and to start researching. And so I said, listen, I saw that movie. My first album was called 36 Chambers. There's a guy in my group named Master Killer, which was named after your character. But in that movie, you played this young man who had a chance to beat the highest level, the abbot. And in my movie, I want you to be that abbot. And maybe some kid will watch my movie and be inspired and go on a quest of life that it's helped me. And he was compelled by that story. He read the dialogue that I've written for him, and he agreed to do the film. So that was a blessing for me to actually be a big fan of Gordon Liu's, and then to go there and actually have him participate in my first movie. So, bump rock.
Excuse me, what made you make Man with the Golden Hand, like the
Well, you see this movie, right? Let me explain a few things about learning music and film. In New York City, growing up in my era, you know, the instruments has been removed from school. It was very less music programs, and we took on turntables as our instruments. And then EMU comes out with a sample of the SP12 and the SP1200, and the Kai came with the MPC60. We started using these sample instruments to make our music, which was sampling bits and pieces from other records. I mean, you listen to De La Soul, 3 Feet High and Rising, and you'll hear a sample from Schoolhouse Rock, a sample from the Turtles, a sample from Frankie Beverly and Maze, all on one record. You listen to the Wu-Tang 36 Chambers, and you got a song called Shame on a Nigga, where you have a sample from Syl Johnson, Willie Mitchell, Mozart, Thelonious Monk, and Old Dirty Bastard all in one song. Right? So basically, the collage of ideas that's already was formulated was the foundation of our creation of making music. And that same philosophy, to me, is done by one of the greatest writer-directors of our era, which is Quentin Tarantino. And he's able to look at films, dissect them, and then reinterpret them into his own language. And that's the man who I studied under. So that technique is what I use. If you look at my movie, for those who get a chance to see it, you'll notice that the character of Lucy Liu is basically the ninja character in this film, where she claps the two sticks together and all the black widows come down. And when I pitched the role to Lucy, I let her watch that scene. I said, this is always a masculine male energy. I want a female to contain this power. Right. And if you notice, that scene is inspired by a scene in this movie. The next film that we have for the double feature is called House of Traps. And when I was explaining to my co-writer, Eli Roth, the ideas of some of my characters and the in sequence when Russell Crowe and Rick Hume have to get to where the goal is at, it's inspired by the House of Traps, which you'll notice it's a treasure they're trying to get to, but it's many traps you got to get past. So I think the mentality of taking art and ideas that's already there and to build your formulation is healthy, and it's been very useful for me. And when I was making my movie, I thought about the original ideas I had. I thought about some of the ideas that was inspired by other ideas. And I felt, you know, in hip hop we got this thing called "don't bite," right? Which means you can't bite another guy's lyrics. So I thought about, am I biting? Right? And my producer, Mark Abraham, had directed a film called Flash of Genius, starring Greg Kinnear. And in that movie, it's based on the story of the man who created the windshield wiper. And he makes the windshield wiper because of a freak thing happened in his life. It was raining, he didn't know what to do, and he was wiping his car thing, and he called a Flash of Genius, which was to make a windshield wiper. And he did work for the Ford company, but when he came with the idea, they loved it, but took the credit for it. And he had to sue Ford Motors to get the patent or to get the rights to be the guy who invented this. And there's a great scene in the movie where, you know, he's losing, and Ford Motors got all their lawyers, and he picks up a book, and he just opens the book, and he reads it. It's a Mark Twain book. And he reads some of the lines from it. And he says, when he read it, he said, this is just words. These are just words. But when Mark Twain took all these words that's always been here, that every one of us going to use for the rest of our lives and put them together the way he did for Huckleberry Finn or for the Prince and the Pauper, that's what made it unique. And that's what he did with his Flash of Genius. And when I saw that movie, it kind of released my brain from like, you know what? It's okay to acquire the information of this world and tell your story with it. or create your art with it. There's no color or image that a painter doesn't paint that he hasn't somewhere seen in his life. Whether it's a collage of images that he dreamed, whether it's him looking at a mountain, whether it's him looking at a landscape, or whether it's the things of his imagination, that's still an image in action that he's bringing to life. So with that help right there, I was able to incorporate a lot of ideas into my film, and that's one of the techniques that hip-hoppers use to create our music. And I think it's a great way to do it.
Hi, I have a question. I really did enjoy The Man in Iron Fist. You did 2 of them, and you mentioned that you had a project coming up with Marvel and another film. But I would like to know, are you planning on doing any more martial arts films, and are you looking for films to produce and direct?
Yeah, I guess, if life keeps blessing me, I will have more martial art films out there. And like many of us that's into the Hollywood circle, we always looking and reading scripts and looking for something unique to help, to tell a great story. So if there's something cool and it radiates with me or resonates with me, I'd definitely be interested in being involved in the capacity of producer, director, writer, and just say, an actor, kid, I do some acting.
I was wondering, in your musical career, did you ever sample any pieces from this film particularly that you found that was really nice?
In this film, I didn't sample, but the flute that she was playing, there's a song that we did on an album called The Swarm featuring Shaheem, the Rugged Child.
Hey.
And I think Hellraiser from Sons of Man, that is inspired by the flute line that happens in this movie. There was something about her.
Right.